Rachel, basically, I actually only met her last Friday when she came in and she was running a couple of hours, workshop for our members. But we discovered that one of the girls who actually was part of our speaker training program a couple of years back was actually one of Rachel's clients. And she landed herself a big radio show, and all this media and PR stuff really works, right? I think it's probably one of the most underrated and least understood ways of winning business and tapping into opportunities, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, let's hand over to Rachel Taplin.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Anik. Which was right. This way. Brilliant. It's great because Anik has already said a few things, which is wonderful. So you're obviously listening, which is great. And Sarah, who's been working with Speaker Express and speaks really highly of it, because as speakers, we have to start somewhere, and PR is exactly the same. And she did go on to get loads of publicity. She got shortlisted for a TV channel, ITVB. She got her own radio show. She's got a podcast, and she started off so scared to do publicity when I started working with her probably about 3 years ago. So it does work. So today it's about you guys. It's about, we're here to help you raise your profile and connect to journalists as an influencer, as the expert, or more importantly, someone with a great story. Some of you have heard me speak last week, so this is going to be a very shortened version of it. But I'm hoping that it will give you just enough to go, do you know what, I can make this work for myself. And there's some strategies in here. There's 2 or 3 amazing strategies that you'll be able to take away and apply straight away. And hopefully you'll go, oh wow, it's that easy. So why PR? Why not? It's practically free to do. And it is, like Anik said, it's the forgotten marketing tool. We're so busy nowadays tweeting and doing our social media and our blogging. We've almost forgotten to consider PR as part of our marketing strategy, and that's exactly what it is. It's part of your marketing strategy. So hopefully if you're in business, you're already trying to get new customers, you're writing some newsletters, you've got your website. That's brilliant. All I'm going to ask you to do today is to consider taking your current marketing one step further. Now could not be a better time because PR, the media has changed so much. So we've got traditional PR and we've got digital PR. And the greatness with digital PR is that there's so many websites, bloggers, podcasters, newspapers, trade magazines that want your story. So what we're going to go through with today is the opportunity that's out there and why you should be doing it. But what stops most people from considering PR? It's scary. They think, oh my God, I don't feel good enough to be interviewed. This lady's nodding. Or you think, I don't know where to start. I haven't got the media contacts. Or more importantly, most people think, my profile's not high enough. They're not going to want to talk to me. And that's what we're going to cover off today, is why they do actually want to talk to you and why you would be absolutely amazing with the stories that you've hopefully got. So just to put a few statistics for you, to get you really excited, hopefully. There's over 95,000 journalists and media contacts in the UK. And there's over 44,000 media outlets. So a media outlet is like a radio station or a TV channel or a magazine or a newspaper. But this is what's really exciting. There's over 768,000 influencers. So from your point of view, there's going to be lots of opportunities for you to connect to the right type of journalists. And we're going to cover off today the 2 most important things, is how you make that emotional connection, how you find your story, because most people probably be sitting there and thinking, but I haven't got a story. And then the other part is there's 2 ingredients you need, is that one, and the second one is the right media connections. So today I'm going to show you how you can approach the journalist and approach the right type of journalists. Okay, so how hard can PR really be? It's not that hard when you know how. It's just understanding the mistakes that most people make, or just kind of understanding and following a route map. Because once you know kind of the process that you need to go through, it makes it so much more simpler. So the number 1 mistake people make when they're trying to get publicity is that they'll write a press release or an email, or they'll approach the media and say, this is what I do, this is my business, these are the customers that I've got, and this is what I'm trying to attract. It might be that you've been 10 years in business and you're just trying to promote it. That's really kind of an advert. It's logical. PR is about having an emotional connection. It's about telling your story, not selling your services. So PR tells, advertising sells. And hopefully these guys that have listened to me already last week are going to be going, oh yeah, I remember that bit now. So hopefully you're framing it for your own business point of view on how you're going to be telling your story rather than selling your services. So PR is not really that difficult once you understand that emotional connection, because journalists need stories, and the way that the media has changed so much. So for example, a regional newspaper might have had 40 journalists working there about 5, 6, 7 years ago. They've probably only got 20, if they're lucky, working there now, yet they're still having to output the same newspaper, and they're online as well, so they have an online presence, so they actually have social media journalists. So someone that might work, as you can hear, I'm a Brummie, so I'm from Birmingham, so my local regional paper is the Birmingham Post and Mail. So they actually have journalists now that are social media journalists, which is great news for you guys, because you can have the online presence, so you can be on their Facebook or on their online website, but you can also be in print, so you can approach it in 2 different ways. So PR is not really that difficult once you kind of understand that emotional connection, but most importantly understand that journalists need your stories. They sit down each day and they look at what's trending, and then they want to be able to connect to people that have a story that can connect to what's topical at the moment. So why am I standing here in front of you to talk to you today? When I say I'm a PR expert and I'm the media matchmaker, I'm actually not a PR agency. I cannot actually write a press release. I'm actually dyslexic, and writing scares me to death. Going on LinkedIn scares me to death. Love Facebook, LinkedIn scares me. So I'm hopefully, like you guys, I started off my PR journey thinking, I can't do this, I haven't got a story. But I've always worked in the media, so I worked in radio for 5 years, selling advertising, radio advertising to SMEs. And then I had my own ad agency, so I understood the marketing, the sales, and all that kind of side, above the line, below the line, whether it's, whatever type of advertising. And then when I closed my advertising agency down, because I'd got a little girl, she was growing up and I wanted to work flexibly around her, I set up my own magazine called Mums in Control. And this magazine, I franchised it all around the country, so I had 60 franchisees. Each print run was about 5,000 copies. Well, it was 5,000 or 10,000 copies per print run. We would interview all the celebrities at head office, or I'd do most of these interviews, and then we'd leave blank pages for our local franchisees to fill them full of advertising. That's how they made their money. Then they put some community, and it worked extremely well. So at our peak, we were printing 250,000 copies. So we were larger than some of the national magazines, some of the parenting magazines, and it was absolutely flying high. And I got to the stage in my business where I really wanted to raise my own profile and the profile of Mums in Control. And so PR was kind of the obvious thing, and I did not know how to go about it. So I appointed a PR agency. Now, the PR agency didn't make me any promises. They said, we'll look after you. It was £1,500 a month. And they did come good, actually. They did a great job. They got me onto GMTV with Lorraine Kelly, and I was featured in the Daily Mail. Now, my story was actually nothing special. I was just a working mum trying to get round and achieve the work-life balance. But I learned how to make that emotional connection. And I targeted my story to the right type of audience. So you guys have all hopefully can think about now, when I'm talking through how you connect to the media, is think about where is your audience, who are your customers, who are you trying to attract and work with? I'm just going to look at the time because I want to keep an eye on the time. So who is your audience? Is it business to business? Are you industry sector? Someone said they were health tech, so you're probably industry sector. Some of you, plumbers over here, so you're the consumer. You might be regional if you're a regional business. So think about who your audience is, and that's the media outlets that you then want to try and approach. So the first thing you want to do is match your media outlets to your customers. So hopefully all of you know what your typical customer is. So I had Mums in Control. Mine were just working mums. So it was quite broad actually. So I could do the regional customers, I could do national, so you know, someone like the Sun or the Daily Mail or the Telegraph. It was absolutely fantastic for me because I was really, really broad and where I could actually get featured. So as I say, I hired the PR agency. It was back in the day in 2008 when this magazine was flying high and business was good then. We were making lots of money, we had budgets to spend, so it was absolutely fine to spend £1,500 on a PR agency. And then I'm not sure if you remember, but in 2009, 2010, certainly we had what was called the credit crunch, and it absolutely crippled my business. And all the franchisees panicked because the first thing that got held up was marketing budgets. So nobody wanted to spend any money. We want to be out there drinking, don't we, and chatting like that, you know, I'll go as quick as I can. So all the advertising budgets got shrunk. So that was like challenging for my mums. Then they didn't want to carry on. It was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then I couldn't attract new franchisees. I couldn't get advertisers on. So I thought, right, I need to continue to do PR, but I could no longer afford the PR agency. So I'm standing here today in front of you when I've used PR at a time when my business was flying high and I could afford a PR agency and everything was great, but also at a time when I needed every single penny to my business and I desperately needed to keep raising my profile so that I could sustain the business to carry on. So hopefully you can see that, you know, PR, when I take you through the journey, you can do it whether you've got a budget or whether you haven't got a budget, whether you're starting out in business or whether you're massively established. You know, we can get you publicity, connect you to the journalists. It doesn't matter. They don't mind how big your business is or how small or how when you started off. It's about the emotional connection. Your job is to be the great source of information. The job of the journalist is to introduce you. Now we've all briefly and kind of, you know, done the icebreaker where we all got to tell each other and boost about ourselves of what we do, and we're quite comfortable about talking about what we do on a one-on-one basis. You know, we can talk about our business, we're heartfelt. Hopefully you're in business because you've solved a problem or a solution. That makes you a great source of information. You know what you're talking about. The journalists aren't there to trip you up. So what we're going to get you to do is to connect to the journalists and share your industry knowledge, your stories and your expertise. So the first thing you need to do, and these are some of the media publicity coverage that I've had. So Mums in Control went on, I learned how to do my own PR. I went along to a seminar down in London and saw a speaker, and it was all about how to do your own PR, because bearing in mind I hadn't got a clue where to start with it. And I followed his system, so it's just about following a system. And from one press release, I generated over £32,000 worth of cash to my business. And I got featured on 70 radio stations in one day, 15 of which were live interviews. And that's because I followed a system on how to launch my own national celebration day and launch Working Mums Day. And then I'd got an absolute taste for it. I thought, this stuff really does work. And I've gone on to do literally hundreds of interviews, and I've been featured on most of the TV channels and most of the glossy women's magazines as well. Now, I'm not intellectual. I know my own subject matter. I'm a businesswoman. I'm passionate about what I do, but I'm just normal. My story was just normal. But the journalists wanted to connect with me and they wanted to reach my story, and I've helped now hundreds of thousands of business owners achieve publicity themselves. So the first thing to consider is, what's your story? Have you actually shared it? You know, you may have a backstory why you've set up in your business, why you're passionate about your business. You might have a story in the fact that you've helped people overcome something, there's a solution to something that's never been offered there before. What's your story? Hopefully it's on your website about us. You've shared it already via a newsletter or to community or every time you meet people, but have you shared it to the media? Because hopefully when you're sending your newsletter or doing your email or your tweets, you're doing it because you're resonating with a community, an audience, you're heartfelt, you're trying to connect to them. The media outlets have the communities that you guys want. This is the easiest ways for you to get new customers, to raise your profile, build credibility, and more importantly, put cash in the bank. So just have a think about now, what's your story? And it might not be, you know, it doesn't have to be a real heroic story. like this amazing lady that I met last week. I mean, you have got an amazing story and we're going to work together, aren't we? Which is fantastic to get it out there. But it may just be, you know, you've set up in business because it's a proper solution. You go to an industry trade, health tech, you know, it's something that's a little bit different. You can go to trade magazines, they want news stories. So what's your story? Now, there's two ways to connect to the media. You can write a press release and send it to the media, or you can get the media to come to you. That's so much easier. So the way journalists work is, especially nowadays, they see what's trending. It's not because they're lazy, it's because now the media are very reactive to the news. So years ago, they used to be very proactive and they would determine the news themselves. Now they're very reactive because we are the media, we create the news. So they sit down like us. When you open up Google or news on Apple or whatever you're doing or what's trending on Twitter, you see what stories are out there. The journalists do exactly the same. And then what happens is they need to be able to report on what's trending and what's in the news. So they'll sit down, and I know this is for a fact, in radio, and I'm a big advocate of BBC, the BBC radio channels are 60 to 70% talk and 30 to 40% music, so they always need people to interview. So a radio producer would sit down a couple of hours before the show starts, they'd look at what's trending and they'd go, right, okay, we're going to talk about property. We need a property expert. We need someone to talk about what deals are going on. Are there still big deals in London? And then we need a case study of someone that's, you know, made a load of money in property and a case study of someone that's lost money in property. That's called being a case study. So the media will go to you as the go-to person, hopefully being in property. Now, if you're connected to the right type of journalists and you're in their little black book, they will come to you to ask you for help with stories because they have their own agendas. But also, if you become PR savvy, hopefully when you go away tonight, you'll start thinking this through now. Hopefully you can set up Google Alerts. Have everyone heard of Google Alerts? Yeah, perfect. Set up a Google Alert on your own name, you should have, or anything that's trending in your industry, and then talk about it, retweet it, put it on LinkedIn, become the industry expert, and then approach the media that's right for you, by the way, because PR is not about ego, it's about getting your story out there and reaching the right type of customers. So if you know you can comment on that story, go to the radio or the TV channels or the industry newspapers and say, in light of this recent story, I'd love to be able to offer you a different angle or comment on it, and they will absolutely love you for it because they are constantly looking for great content, and you're the great source of information, so you have your own special take on what's trending. Okay, so I talked about two ways. You can write a press release and send it to the media, or you can get the media to come to you. So when my business was flying high, as I said, I had a PR agency. I also had a PA. I don't anymore, by the way. But business was absolutely wonderful. And then when I had to kind of considering it was becoming challenged, I just had an email come through from the PR agency, and they said, would you like to be featured in the Daily Mail? Well, the Daily Mail was my perfect target audience. It was mums from recruiting franchisees. It was the right type of lady that I wanted to try and attract that could afford to invest in my franchise. And the article was all about flexible franchising, which is what my franchise was. But what happened was I read the email, and actually it got forwarded on from what was called a journo request service. Now, PR agencies, I saw your eyebrows raised then, yeah, PR agencies subscribe to media request services or journo request services or whatever you want to call them. They also subscribe to media databases. So they don't know all the connections. I've said already to you, there's over 90,000 journalists in the UK. They couldn't possibly know them all. They use a media database. They don't get all the help and shout outs. They subscribe to what's called journo request services and PR request services. Now, in the last few years, the advance of Twitter has been fantastic. Have you ever searched the hashtag journo request? Start doing it. It's fantastic. So it started off that journalists used to use the hashtag journo request to shout out for help with a story. So they put a shout out to say, I need some help with a story. And then they put the story out. And so this is typical journo request, looking for a financial advisor who specialised in equity release. Thanks in advance. Then there's another one here, looking for a therapist or psychologist to speak to me today about Kate and Will's Royal Tour of Canada. Then there's so these seeking mindfulness experts for a story. These are what are called journal requests. So journalists subscribe, but what's happened is, sadly, over the years, is I've gone around speaking to the whole of the country, telling them about journal requests, and now everyone's spamming it and using it to promote their own business, which is not a problem. But you have to kind of work out which ones are the genuine journal requests from journalists. But this is a great way to get publicity. So I responded to a journal request. This is to show you how easy it can be. A journal request came up looking for a case study of a British woman who read The Secret and believes it changed her life. Anybody read The Secret? Fantastic book, isn't it? Did change my life genuinely, In my time where I was challenged in 2009, I was not only going through business challenges, I was going through divorce. It was like, oh my gosh. So The Secret just changed everything in my mindset. So I responded to this journal request and just literally underneath the tweet, just replied and said, yeah, changed my life, happy to help, here's my email. She then came back a few days later saying, thanks so much for getting in touch on Twitter, sorry it's late, trying to respond, can I ask where you read The Secret and how it changed your life? So I told her how I'd read The Secret, how it, I wanted to become a speaker, and I used the Secret for it. I wanted to travel 1 year, a lot more, so I used it. I got my vision board and everything. So I just shared my story with her, and at this point I thought, I haven't even asked what publication this is for, and it was actually for the Daily Mail. I must have this thing with the Daily Mail. And literally what happened was they said, yeah, you sound like you're perfect, to be featured in the Daily Mail. So they sent along a photographer, they sent a makeup artist, they sent wardrobe as well, but that was my own, I got to wear my own dress because I said I love dresses. And that was as simple as it was, and this is how it got featured. Now, this probably took me 10, 15 minutes of emails back and forth, but I got national coverage, and this is how simple it can be. So you probably all come tonight thinking I'm going to be sharing so much with you that it's going to be really difficult and you're going to have to spend hours and hours and hours learning. Two things, guys. Learn the process of how to approach them from a heartfelt point of view. Understand the stories and the angles, which I can help you with, but then it's approaching the right type of media contacts. Because what happens is, if let's say you were going to send out a press release via a press distribution service, it will probably just go to the news desk. You want to find out who the business journalist is, the health journalist, the tech journalist, because they have specific journalists that write about specific things. Certainly for the Nationals will have about 100 to 200 journalists working there. I know this because I interview journalists at high level all the time. I interview regional journalists as well. So regional newspaper might not have loads of different journalists because they're only a small team now. They might have a business journalist and a property person, but generally they cover all of the stories. So think about, publicity, follow the journal request hashtag, see how it works for you, but approach the media yourself. So if you want to be in Cosmo or Huffington Post or Men's Health or some tech trade magazines or wherever you want to be, read the magazine, engage with them, find out what their social media handles are, talk about anything that's trending so they get to see you and start building that relationship with them. This is a lady that subscribed to I have a journal request service that's a monthly, we send the journal requests out every single day. We take out all the spam. It's a massive £29 a month. It doesn't cost a lot to do. This lady got her own column out of a journal request. Now what happened is she said, I'm happy to write and submit some articles. A lot of the trade magazines and a lot of the community magazines, they want regular guest contributors. So approach them. If you're blogging already, you're doing the hard work already. You've written the articles, you've got the content. I'm just going to say go to people that have already got the communities. I'm guessing you all want new customers. I am right, am I? Yeah. I'm guessing you all want to raise your profile, yeah? It's a no-brainer, and I know I get so excited as I go along. This other lady here, within hours of working with Blue Boo, she followed the advice, she sent out a press release and had a phone call to be asked to be on the BBC radio. It really does work, and I've inspired so many business owners, and I've got so many success stories since I've been doing this in 2012 and teaching people. This is one of the simplest ways as well to think of ideas and stories and, how am I going to approach the media? Have I got anything to talk about? There are over 400 national and celebration days. Now, most of these celebration days have been made up by people that want publicity or to raise their own profile. they've probably put a strategy to it. And this is, I said I went to see a speaker to teach me how to do my own PR. It was all about how to launch your own National Day. So I went back to my PA at the time and I said, we're going to launch National Working Mums Day. We're going to do it in 6 weeks. And I followed the process and it was absolutely amazing. Not only was it amazing for the fact it helped me financially, which I really needed, but for the profile of the company, it was unbelievable. I got asked, PR, it really raises opportunities. So I got asked to organise a Mumpreneur Summit for the Equality and Human Rights Commission. And I kept thinking, oh my God, I don't deserve to be here. I'm just a normal business owner. I'm not an academic. I cannot talk about politics. We talked about this last week. Don't ask me anything like that. But my topic, I can talk about it. And the journalists want to connect to the sources of information. So see if there's a national celebration day that you guys can ride off the back of. Because at the time they'll want to speak to you. So there's a lady, she listened to me speak, there was World Poetry Day coming up. She approached her radio station to say, did you realise it was World Poetry? This was about 2 months before. They said, actually, no, we didn't, but can you approach us a few days before? Because they don't forward plan that far. Some magazines will forward plan 3 months in advance. Newspapers and radio stations, they turn it around. They literally forward plan within a couple of days, if that, or mostly within a couple of hours, because they need to be reactive to the news. So she was a poet and she got on, she had 18 minutes airtime. She then went on to be a regular columnist. She'd go into the radio and she'd review the newspapers. And the following year, she actually forgot it was World Poetry Day and they phoned her. So this stuff really does work. This is the lady here. So she'd gone on then. She does regular stuff now. It's worked really well for her. Her name was G.K. Kingsley. It's so inspirational because she'd never done PR. She was scared of it. A bit like Sarah that was in the Speaker Express. Sarah's got a great profile. She's got great stories, but very nervous around doing the media. And I think you just have to realise they're just normal people. They're not out to trip you up. In fact, they're very grateful to you for help with the stories. So just always remember, your job is to be the great source of information. So I launched National Working Mums Day. As I say, we got on 70 radio stations with 15 live interviews, and it saved my business. Sadly, I kept going for about another year. I turned it into an online magazine. We had an online presence of 1.2 million, but we didn't know where to sit with from a commercial point of view with the ad agencies. We're almost ahead of our time. So then sadly, I closed Mums in Control down. Still got the URL. Maybe one day I'll bring it back, we'll see. So the rise of the influencer, this is where you guys as speakers, or want to be speakers, you're putting yourself there, you're being brave already. That's amazing. You're obviously wanting to become a speaker because you've got something to tell someone. Because you're not just going to get up there and just waffle anything, are you? You've obviously got something in mind you want to share. You are an influencer. And this is why there's 760,000 influencers now. So you may have a website. Has anyone got a website and you write content and blogs on your websites? Sometimes it's hard to keep thinking of new content. A lot of bloggers and influencers, they share, they put shout outs and say, right, we want to interview somebody in the tech health industry, but another expert, so they have people that they talk about. So they share the topics. The media are exactly the same. Podcasters are always looking for podcasts. People are looking for guests constantly, so they want content. So you are the rise of the influencer, or you could actually be connected to the influencers and share your topic. And what will happen is you will grow your audience. And what is great with online stuff is it stays around. So from your point of view, if you get featured in something like, told these guys last week, one of my clients got featured in The Guardian Online, we'll come on to it, and The Guardian Online reached 550,000 unique users a day. And that will be there forever and a day so that people can find her. And she's actually got business off the back of it. So, are you an influencer, an expert? What's the definition of an expert? A person who has a comprehensive and authoritative knowledge of a skill in a particular area. That's you. If I asked you about your business and we had a coffee afterwards, I'm hoping you'd be able to answer the questions about what you do. It makes you the expert. So if you're, looking to get into the trade industry magazines and you specialise in health tech, sorry, I can only remember a few people, so I'm not just picking on you, then I won't get you to speak, So, you can go on as the expert because you know a lot more than the journalist does. Because something's broken in the health tech industry, all of a sudden they're going to need someone that can talk about it and comment on it. Dare I say Boris Johnson or Brexit or anything like that, people want, how is it going to affect businesses? How is it going to affect property? Everything has a knock-on effect, and hopefully you can shape it so that you can become the influencer and expert. So the benefits of positioning yourself as the expert, oh my gosh, it really does open doors. It raises your profile, it just takes you to a whole new level, exactly like becoming a speaker. But tenfold, if you don't mind me saying, because speakers, you're still only speaking to a limited audience, whether it's 50, whether it's 500. Speaking to the media, most of them have got like 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 established communities, and the audience that you're reaching are your customers. So think about positioning yourself as the expert because it does build credibility. I've got asked to do so many TV interviews, sometimes not on topics that are even relevant to my business. So David Cameron was doing his speech. They wanted me to comment on, I think it was working tax credits. It wasn't really relevant to Mums in Control at all, but I was a working mum and championing the working mum. And yeah, of course I did that interview because David Cameron, power to the people, and then the camera shot to me just as, and I was introduced as local businesswoman. That was great for me to be able to leverage. Now with PR, you do need to start with the end in mind. What are you doing it for? Are you looking to sell more books? Is it to just raise your profile? Is it to fill, seminars? What is it for? And then when you do your interview, have 2 or 3 key messages that bring them back. So become the politician. We've all seen the politicians being interviewed. They never answer the question, do they? They say their own key message. So just have about 2 or 3 key messages of points that you want to get across. Is this making sense to all of you? Fantastic. I can see the concentration, which is fantastic. So benefit yourself, position yourself as the expert because the benefits are fantastic. Now, the only difference of why your competitors are probably the influence or the expert with the media is because they put themselves forward or the journalist has Googled them and then they're in that little black book. The media share their contacts, they keep their contacts, they'll come back time after time. But what we want to do tonight is show you a way that you can get in front of them and that you can get into their little black book so they can come to you if they've got a case study or a journal request or if there's a trending story that you can be the expert. Okay, so this is Jo Auger, the lady I said to you. So she was a coach and she was working with, I think it was executives that just wanted to do something different. Journal request came through. It's for the Guardian Online, like I said. It absolutely, she'd just come back from living in Spain. I think she got 3 or 4 fantastic paying customers from it within the first week. It was unbelievable. But what was great about it is because it was online, it's been great from her own SEO point of view, and I don't really understand SEO, how it works, but one next to the other, so it just raises and really helps your own website as well. So this is one of the easiest ways to get publicity, is just to simply introduce yourself to the media. It's not smoke and mirrors PR. I thought it was when I first started. I thought I couldn't possibly do it. I thought I'm not good enough, or I hadn't got the story, or I didn't know how to go about it. But you can just literally introduce yourself to the media because they're human beings. Yes, sometimes they're under pressure. A lot of the time they're under pressure. But just send an introductory email. Hi, this is what I do. I'm in property. This is what I specialise in. These are the topics I can talk about. If you've got anything you want to cover, please contact me. Here's my contact details. That's the bare minimum that all of you would be able to do. Now, if you're already writing blogs and articles, attach a couple of articles. If you want to be submitting your articles, to say, here's a couple of articles that I've written, I'm hoping you might want to use. Top tip, if you've got a blog, don't put all your blogs on there because those are all your stories, and journalists don't want old stories, they want new stories. So, don't give all your content away. So if they go to it, and then you can repurpose and bring up to date your blogs so that everybody can see it. So introduce yourself to the UK media. We have a template that I've devised, and it's not really anything special, but we get time after time, the journalists come saying, yeah, I'd love to interview you, or I'll keep you in my little black book. And it's just simply, you don't always need to write a press release to get publicity. You just need to show up in front of the right type of journalists. and to show up with an emotional connection or be able to comment as the expert and influencer. So how hard can it be? It's not really that difficult. You know, hopefully I've given you some tips to feel inspired to think, actually it's really easy when you know how. If she can do it, I can do it. Dyslexic, not very intelligent, just about running a business and everything, you know, and it worked for me at a time, as I say, when I was flying high, but then when I was really challenged. The biggest thing is inspiration and confidence. People I speak to, you know, when they start on the PR journey, or I've spoken at a number of events, and they you know, they're so scared initially, or they don't know where to start. So it's just about having the confidence to do it, and hopefully I've given you some inspiration and confidence to go about it tonight. And then it's about, are you prepared? Do you know where to start? It's just a roadmap. It's just saying, okay, an introductory email or a press release or respond to a journal request, or you've already got 3 great ways. Be a case study, share your story, respond to the media as a journal request, or there's the National and Celebration Day. There's great angles there already that all of you should be able to apply to your business. So you know where to start, you're already semi-prepared. And take the time to reach the right contacts. So when I speak to editors of newspapers or commission editors for news stations, they'll say to me, people will send us press releases, but they won't actually personalise them. And what we're saying is, if you can't be bothered to actually personalise and find out who we are, we can't be bothered to read the press release. So take the time to find out, just pick up the phone and speak to the right type of journalist, because one success story could change your business overnight. This is a story of a lady that basically wanted to get featured in the Times, and she did personal dating. She had like an exclusive club. It was £10,000 a ticket for her members to join, and she was doing like a social where they're all going to have drinks together and canapes and everything. She would love to have got featured in the Times. So I said to her, you know, you could do that thing called the telephone. Pick up the phone. So we gave her the ideal contact. So the relationship coach at the Telegraph, yes, they have them. So we found her, and they invited her along to the do, and she was there. She wrote an article on it, and she had literally a double page spread in the Times. It was worth over £100,000 to her business. She even got featured on the front. This is the company that Sarah worked at some point as well. So they could see how the PR was going. And then what happened, it has a snowball effect. You get featured in one thing and the media will see that you're PR savvy. They will your perception becomes reality. PR. See what I did there? So, you know, PR, perception is reality. So she put herself forward on one, then the Independent contacted her to say, we'd love to feature you in the Independent. She started writing a regular column. So this does have a snowball effect. One PR success story can change your night. John Parnell, he's just such the loveliest man. If anyone deserves publicity, he does. He's called the Hoop Guy. He goes around schools, he does hula hooping, and he just wanted to raise his profile. He's honestly such a wonderful guy. So a journal request, would you believe it, came up saying, have you hula hoop for fitness? Do you hula hoop for fitness? We'd like to feature you. It was for Saga magazine. It was a 3-page spread in Saga. Now you might think, Saga magazine is trying to get to schools. How on earth could he leverage that? But he was able to use it so he could send the newsletter to all of the schools to say, look, I'm the Hoop Guy. Because he was on the radar, that he'd done some media, a lot of the kind of reality shows, they look for people that are already a little bit, done the media, that they obviously can see that they're comfortable or they want to do that. He then went on to Britain's Got Talent, you may remember, and got into the semi-finals. So his PR journey started off where he'd done nothing, and then he was like a mega superstar. And it's been amazing for his business, it really has. So here's just a few other examples. William Houseltine, he basically went on Radio 2, the innovation show. He wanted to get on there. I just gave him the right contacts. He had what was called the Rug Buddy. It was underfloor heating. He sold out of his stock literally within 48 hours, 6 months stock within 48 hours. Paul Wilson, he's a fitness boot camp. He secured on radio once he followed our principles, got onto radio, and as a result of that, the BBC Inside Out show wanted to interview him, so he got on TV, and he's now an expert on for embarrassing bodies, so it's just snowballed for him. And I love these stories. Sarah from Elite Dating, Sarah, as you know, we mentioned, she got covered in national men's magazines. She's a guest blogger. She was offered her own TV show for ITVB. She got onto radio as well. She's gone on to do, I mean, she's done amazing. She still is doing amazing, but she was so scared to work. She spoke at my Meet the Journalist event about 3 years ago. So she was just as nervous as I used to be, as I'm sure you might be, but it's worth it. Rosie Cunningham followed our press release formula and secured an interview with Essex newspaper, an interview on the BBC Essex, and she's now securing regular clients. via blogging, and she's now become a columnist in some things as well, which is fantastic. So I'm just literally wrapping up. I'd love to offer you the support that you need. It's really quite simple when you know how. So to give you the inspiration and confidence, I'm going to be able to give you a list of all national celebration days. There's 400 of them. I'm also going to give you lifetime access to what I call Club 100, which is my online PR and media training platform. So everything I've learned, I've put it into one place, including what I paid £1,500 for, how to do my national days, because there was a formula to it. I followed it and it worked extremely well. I'm also going to give you in the club, Club 100, a PR toolkit. So it shows you how to write your press release, a bio sheet, a Q&A sheet. The media training interviews are in there. So I've interviewed like radio producers, radio presenters to tell you what we want from you from a radio interview, how to get on TV, how to write your story for consumer press or magazines. And there's 47 PR ideas. So if you're stuck for ideas, we've gone through 3 or 4 tonight, there's 47 in them that you can copy. But I'm also going to get the journalists to come to you. So I'm going to give you over 200 PR leads a month. So every day at 2 o'clock, you'll get the journal requests come through to you of saying this is what we need help for. And they're all put in their industry sectors. And I'm also going to give you a strategy call because some of you are just a bit need a bit of guidance to get started with, saying, right, what is my plan of attack? How do I get started with it? So there's going to be a strategy call. But within that strategy call as well, I'm going to build a bespoke media list for you for up to 200 journalists. And this is the key to it. It's not just knowing how to do it, it's the right type of journalist. So you get in front of the health tech people, you get in front of the consumer or the business builders or whatever you want to be, you get in front of the right people. And basically this is a value of 686 because I sell it separately on my website. And tonight we're just offering it literally for £200 plus VAT. And I would love it if you would love to work with me. I've literally only got 20 spots left, and it's the last time I'm doing this because I'm launching Media Matchmaker. I'm going to boast something for myself in a couple of weeks because obviously this takes my time to do it. So I've got 20 spaces left, and I would love it if you guys, wanted to work up with me. But I accept I've only had half an hour with you, and I know your mind is going to be buzzing and frazzled, you'll be thinking, oh my God, or whatever. There's going to be 100% money back guarantee with it. So if you come on board, you'll fill out your details, I'm going to be back within the break. And then what I'll do is I'll basically get you set up with Club 100 so you can access it all. Then we'll do our strategy call, and you've got up to 6 weeks for us in the call to have the call. You've got lifelong access to the training, and we can do the call within the next 6 weeks. Then I will build you your bespoke media list. Now, if during that call you don't feel it's value or you don't think it's for you, I'll give you money back. And I can promise you now, I've not had one person. And that's not because because I know what I give is great value. So that's it, basically. Thank you so much for listening to me. I've crammed in as much as I could. I hope you'd like to work with me. There's the offer. As I say, I'm leaving after the break. So if you are interested, I've put them into plots of 10. You can just pass them around. Fill out the details, hand it back to me. All the details will be secure, and I will shred them afterwards. Thank you very much. I just hand them around.